Welcome back, Shalligators. Well, today we're going to talk about a retro BAE couple. That's right, an old school couple that isn't in the news anymore, but nonetheless, it is a fascinating dynamic, and we can learn so much from them. And I thought I'd start it off with a bang. Elvis Presley and his wife, his teen bride, Priscilla. Now, if you're like me, you're like familiar with Elvis. I mean, obviously, we know his songs, a little less conversation, a little more action. We know he died at like 11,000 pounds and he would eat like deep fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. That's like cool. I don't know. Elvis Presley, it's very important to look at his role in society. How incredibly large he was and how he chose to wield that power. Do you know what he chose to do with that power? Not start a foundation, not bring awareness to autism or anything like that. To seduce as many virgins as he possibly could. Ugh. Okay. We're going to break down Elvis's psychology, how it impacted and almost ruined his teen wife, Priscilla, and what we can learn from this. What do we do when a guy expects us to be perfect? Or if we feel like we're disappointing him and sort of going against his expectations. Can we right the ship? Is this an unhealthy relationship? We're going to break it all down. So Elvis was basically the first rock star of his kind. He was doing things that nobody else was doing, things with his hips. He was playing music that nobody else was playing. And since then, obviously, every generation has this mega pop star. There's David Cassidy, there's like the Motley Crue dudes and all the 80s heartthrobs. We had Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, Harry Styles, there's David Bowie. Like every generation has them, but Elvis really was the first. And because of this, the power he wielded was absolutely out of control. And like I said, he didn't use it for good. Elvis's weird psychology began, as it always does, with his mama. His mom, Gladys, was pregnant with twins, and one twin died in the womb, Elvis's twin brother, Jesse. And so she became like hyper protective about Elvis to the point that they even had their own language. Like ice cream is called like itty tweets, and they had like a weird word for milk. And so they had this like weird like umbilical too close relationship. And she died of hepatitis when he was 23, and he was so upset he tried to throw himself in the grave with her. But he really went off the deep end at that point, and he was such like this man-child who needed a woman to take care of him. And so I know what you're thinking. Well, wait a minute. Why did he date virgins then? Dude, I don't know, right? Isn't that weird? You would think that he would date like older women, that he would want like a sophisticated older lady. The mind is a very strange thing. And I think he didn't want that because, I don't know, maybe there were some lines that were crossed. I don't know. But the people in his inner circle recall him seeing Priscilla for the first time, who was 14. And Elvis like leapt up and he like literally ran over to her. And they're like, we'd never seen him have a reaction like that to a woman. A girl before. And he was so into her because she looked like his mom at that age. God. Can you believe there was a time before therapy? Right? Can you believe that there was a time when like, ew, you're going to a shrink. Are you crazy? Bitch, are you? Are you dating people who look like your dead mama? Weird. So he was obsessed with virgins. We're getting ahead of ourselves. He was obsessed with virgins, and not just virgins, not like 19-year-old virgins who are, still of an appropriate age. They just haven't had sex yet. No. Like 13-year-olds. In fact, people in his circle said that 14 was like the magic number for him. Like if a girl was like 12 or 13, was like, I'll make out with you. I'll roll around in the bed. But if you're 14, like that's the age when like, all right, like this is on. You got to wonder what the fuck happened to him when he was 14. Because what have we said? Trauma arrests you at the age it happens. This is also true for alcoholics. They are very much emotionally frozen at the age in which they started drinking. And usually, if you start drinking at 14, there probably was a trauma that precipitated that. Maybe you were raped or molested or dad ran off or something happened. Something happened to make you turn to heavy alcohol. Something happened to Elvis. And let's not. But he was very, very into young girls. And the freakiest part is their parents knew about it. He would invite girls backstage after his concerts with their parents and be like, hey, can I take your 13-year-old daughter to a bar? I'll take real good care of her. And they're like, okay, okay. And that sounds insane to us, right? That sounds insane to us. But again, this goes back to the sort of context in which Elvis existed. Like, we can look at a band like Fall Out Boy, right? And we can be like, oh, emo was so weird. At the time, emo was absolutely revolutionary. No one was doing these things. No one was looking like this and singing like this. And that's why they became as big as they did. They were pioneers. So was Elvis. Now we look back and we're like, who fucking cares? Oh, he shook his hips. That didn't happen. So this dude was like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Justin Bieber, all rolled into this crazy package. And you have some Midwestern housewife and her like insurance salesman husband. And Elvis is looking at your 14-year-old daughter who really is going to grow up to like work at a Long's Drugs, marry, a high school dropout, have some kids. They're going to live a very basic life. And the biggest star on planet Earth is saying, I want to spend some time with her. I mean, you're like, well, okay. Look at the Michael Jackson documentary, Leaving Neverland. Was it Finding Neverland? Leaving Neverland? Leaving Neverland? I couldn't even get through it. It was so gross and upsetting. But it was the same kind of thing. It's like he's the biggest star in the world. And we think of parents as and adults as just like doing what's best for the kids first and foremost. And mostly I think people do, but they get bamboozled by fame too. They're human beings just like everybody else. And it results in these really crazy scenarios. So Priscilla's mom was not apprehensive about this. She had wanted Priscilla to become a big star. She herself had wanted to become a star. Didn't happen. So she was happy to kind of like farm Priscilla out to Elvis. And the things he would say. I can raise her up to be the perfect wife. She should go to a convent school in Memphis and then live with me at Graceland at night. A convent school. Pulled her out of her family, moved her out of her family's house, put her in a convent school, and then boned her at night. So a lot of the anecdotal apocryphal evidence about these two, or stories about these two, is that, when they first met, they were just smooching and then that was it. No, dude, they got it on. Like, they got it all the way on. Within a few minutes of meeting her, it was reported that he had her up against a wall making out with her. She was 14 years old. He was 24 years old. And they went all the way. But here's the weird part. Are you ready for this? He had this like demented, vague, childlike idea of what sex was. And so he would have sex with these children, but not come, like stop just before he came, because then that meant they were still virgins. Oh man. And like, why would he do that? It's like, was he trying to preserve their dignity? No. He was obsessed with virgins. Now, part of it was because these like weird ass mommy complexes, but part of it was because virgins can't compare you to anybody else. It's one of one, right? No frame of reference, and they were very, very easily controlled. Like I said, these were not girls who were probably bound for Stanford or Harvard. They weren't going to run for Supreme Court. They're not Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They were going to like marry somebody who's going to be a JV football coach, and that's it. So these girls were very willing to mold to whatever Elvis wanted. He would have sleepovers with, this is so gross, cherries, as he called them. Ew, because he would have his handlers like always be on the lookout for cherries. Gross. And he'd have sleepovers with them and teach them how to do their eye makeup the way he wanted. I want you to picture, but like at this sleepover with a grown man, like a 24, 25-year-old man, telling them how to do their makeup. What? Who didn't turn the hose on this bitch? This is crazy. But you know who took the bait harder than anyone? Priscilla. She even dyed her hair dark because he wanted her to, so that they could have the same hair color. Okay. And she has given multiple interviews saying that she completely lost herself in this relationship. Like, no shit. So they finally married when I think she was like 22 and he was 32. And she got pregnant on their honeymoon in Palm Springs. And when he realized she was pregnant, he never had sex with her again. Ever. Because he was so obsessed with virgins and virginity and purity that her being pregnant was proof that she was no longer a virgin. And he was like, oh. And he said something to her along the lines of, you're going to be a mother. It would be like having sex with my mother. Nothing's higher than a mother, and you can't have sex with a mother like my mother. It was just like, blah! It was just this weird, horrible, dark, swirly mom thing. And she was like 22, 23. She had been with this man since she was 14, on and off. It was all she ever knew. He was like daddy, husband, brother, lover. And she was just devastated. Devastated. And can you imagine your husband saying, I respect you too much to have sex with you because you're pregnant with my child. You're not pregnant with the milkman's baby. You're pregnant with my child. And I find you revolting. So eventually, Priscilla and Elvis divorced. I mean, dude, no sex? That's wild. And she said that while Elvis was on tour, she began to take dance classes, and she was talking to other women and realizing, wait, they're allowed to go to the grocery store. They're allowed to have friends, that they're allowed to have a life of their own. Oh, get this. Do you know what else Elvis did? He didn't ever want to see Priscilla with her makeup off, or he never saw her undressed. I mean, when they had sex, but like he never saw her change like clothes, like just get ready. He wanted to see the finished product, right? So this brings me to what we should all know about this. Controlling guys who want you to be perfect. No dude starts this way day one. I remember learning this I remember it so clearly in like sociology class in college of how abuse starts. It starts as compliments, and it starts many times as gifts. Now, I'm not saying you should be wary of a guy who gives you compliments and gifts, but there's a tipping point, and there's a very specific like way that it's presented to you. It's not like, okay, so here's an example. I got you this outfit to wear out with your friends. You don't need to wear those short dresses. You look so good in this heavy sweater and long jeans and a burqa and then a car cover over it. It's control. And again, it will start with gifts. I got you this thing to wear. I got you a car so that you can come straight to my house after school. I'll decide where we go to dinner. The lady will have the fish. Oh, he's just so thoughtful, and he's so commanding, and he's so manly. You know who is used to that? Young teenage girls from their daddy, right? So there's a reason that this worked so well. If he had been dating a woman who was 35 and was like, hey, I want you to dye your hair my color, she'd be like, get the fuck out of it. What? Oh, I can't change clothes in front of you? You just came inside me, really? Okay. Like, they wouldn't stand for that shit, right? But we talk a lot about older guys who go for younger women. They don't want a partner. They want a fan. They want a little doll that they can dress up, raise up to their specific expectations. So if we're getting shades of this from someone we're dating, if he's kind of veering into a little bit of control, why do you need to go out with Shallon? She's such a bad influence. Stay home with me. I'm gonna miss you. Don't go away for 10 days. Come back in 5. When we are emotionally bereft, and look, Priscilla was simply a child, and children inherently are like not emotionally complete, right? I mean, they're practically umbilical still. But given that we're not children, when we have a hole inside us, the wrong person comes along, you know what they feel like? Heroin. They feel like a hand around your throat in the best way. You're just like, okay, tell me what to do. Lead me to my own slaughter. Lead me to my own doom. Just take me away from all this. An emotional getaway car, right? It is very important to know that when men see you as perfect, you're so perfect, you're my little princess, I love you, you're so flawless. These are not always compliments. They are not always compliments. They portend doom. I have a nice big walk-in closet, and you know what I put in there? A fridge. I've always wanted a fridge in my closet. Sometimes I don't want to walk all the way downstairs. I'm getting ready. I want to drink. I want a soda water in the morning. I want a midnight snack. And having a fridge in my closet makes me feel like a Kardashian. I just love it. And you know what I would do if that fridge stopped working? I would throw it out. Be like, get the hell out of my house. Get out of my house. You're of no use to me anymore. I wouldn't be like, you know what? Let the fridge just sit there and live out the rest of its days. It's useless to me. And I expect that fridge to work perfectly, to make ice, the tiny bullet ice that I love, perfectly, to stay at temperature perfectly, to open and close perfectly. And if it doesn't, if it falters in any one of these categories, it's out of there. Priscilla was Elvis's fridge. She was a refrigerator to that man. She wasn't a person. She was a possession. Do you believe your possessions get to have a whole other life outside of you? No. Even if I'm not wearing my favorite pair of shoes, no one else is going to wear them. Don't you come into my closet. Those belong to me. They exist. They get seen in the world when I decide. They're an object. That is not, however, how I feel about people. No. But Elvis did. That's exactly how he felt about his wife. So what we can learn here is when you see shades of this, girl, run. And sometimes we don't see it until we've already disappointed someone, until we're that pregnant, non-virgin wife of his, how dare she, and we're just like body slammed by the about face that this person has done. This is like the classic shift of love bombing, isn't it, right? It's love, 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 obsession, obsession, obsession. Oh, you disgusting, no, get away from me. Don't touch me with those non-virgin hands. Oh, you're pregnant. Ah! And you just feel like you're on the dark side of the moon. And love bombing can happen because people are purposefully manipulative. You know, they're doing this out of some weird grand plan. That happens. Love bombing and the withdrawal can happen because people change their mind. Maybe the heat of the affair runs its course. You know, if you meet someone and you're just caught up in this lusty fever and then, the Monday comes, you got to leave Miami. And you're like, no, we're good. No, we're good. We're good. And sometimes it comes because they view you as a possession that stopped working, that stopped giving them what they need. What do those things all have in common? Them. Not you. Them. Their issues, their pathology, their evil, their deficiency, their fucked upness, not you. Do you sit here listening to this and think in any way, shape, or form, Priscilla could have done something to play this better to keep Elvis in love with her? No! She had the audacity to get pregnant, which is what wives did, what? There's nothing she could have done. There's no one she could have been. She already was someone he wanted. She was his mirror image. She was his little fuck toy on the shelf until he decided to take her down and play with her. What was she supposed to do? I say this because when people withdraw their love, and when they withdraw not just their love, but their good opinion, which honestly hurts more than if they were just like, I don't love you anymore. It's, I can't see you in the same way. I had no idea you've slept with 10 people. I can't view you like this. What do you mean you dropped out of college and lied about? I can't see you like this. It's worse. It's worse because they turn it around on us like it is our fault. And that's classically what the love bomber does. They shower you with this love, they pull it away, and then they gaslight you that it's your fault. Well, maybe if you'd shaved your legs a little closer, I wouldn't have had to be so mean to you tonight. Like, huh? It is not your fault. It is their fault. But that's very difficult to see in the moment. How do we do that? How do we keep clarity? How do we keep from losing ourselves in a relationship? First and foremost, keep your goddamn friends. Friends are the first thing to go when you get in the clutches of a controlling man, right? An abusive person, a manipulative person, they want to isolate their victim. We see this in a relationship status, but if we look at this in terms of actual crime, someone gets kidnapped, where do they get kidnapped and murdered? Not the center of the mall, not right there in front of Cinnabon. They get taken to the secondary location, right? Back of the van, down by the river. And this is like one of the things I always remember learning in self-defense class. Do not get in the car. Make them shoot you in the parking lot of Cinnabon. Make them shoot you out in the open. If they've got a gun on you, be like, pull the fucking trigger. I'm not getting in that trunk. You get in that trunk, you got that secondary location, you are dead. So do whatever you have to not to do that. This is the same in relationships. Your primary location, family, friends, school, going out, dance class, soccer practice, all that stuff. They want the secondary location to just be them. Just them. Their emotional van down by the river. And they're not going to put you in a sack and do it by force. They're going to do it by coercion. And it happens slow. And it goes back to what we were saying. It can start with gifts. Why don't you wear that? You don't want to wear that slutty outfit. You really want guys hitting on you? Oh, so I guess you just don't have any respect for me. My boyfriend the other day, he's like, why? Because I was like, I just love to dress slutty sometimes. I don't mean slutty in a bad way. Like, it's a fun word, and he's like, why would you want to do that? And I was like, would you like to say that a little bit closer? And he's like, no, I'm not like, why would you ever? He's like, I'm just genuinely curious. Like, why? What's like the benefit? I'm like, right? Like, you're sitting here probably like, duh. Like, it's fun. It's fun to show off your body. It's fun to get glammed up. It's fun to have guys look at you. It's fun to like walk by and feel heads turn. Like, who doesn't want that, And he's like, he just like didn't understand it. I'm like, well, why do you like a nice car? Why do you drive such a nice car? Same thing. Basically, you want people's heads to turn. Ooh, la la. It's the same thing. And he was not telling me that in like a reductive way. He was genuinely trying to understand it. But I have had boyfriends who are like, why do you feel the need to dress like that? I was like, why the fuck do you feel the need to stand in my house and eat my food? You could see your way out. I'm like not the one to run this game on, like at all. Surprise, surprise. But you have to keep your friends. Our friends are our memory keepers. They are our historians, and they are our North Star and our moral compass. They're a Greek chorus. And they're going to be like, you're making a mistake. This is not you. Why aren't you studying for your law school exams? How come you dropped out of pottery class? What's going on? Who do you think has ulterior motives? A guy who may view you as a possession? Or your friends who've known you since 6th grade? And what possible ulterior motive could they have for telling you to stay in school and keep doing your hobbies and don't alienate your parents? What would that be? What would that be? There isn't one. The simplest answer is almost always the right one. A guy who's trying to isolate you, he has a very big motive. It's control. And I know. For people like us, that sounds crazy. I would never want that much control over someone. What a headache. I got things to do. I don't want someone to be like, is it okay if I wear those cargo shorts? Like, I don't want this. Like, get out of my house. That would be a nightmare. Just like some weighted blanket you can never take off. But we're healthy people. We're not looking for possessions. We are looking for partners. I already have a fridge. I don't need one in human form, right? But if you see this, girl, just know that you're not special. I mean, you are special like a snowflake and special like Beyonce. But to this person, they're detecting something in you and it is not a compliment. So the way we insulate ourselves from these people is, like I said, keep your family and friends around you. Never let anyone divide that. Never. The next way is to keep a full life. It was very telling that Priscilla decided to branch away and found that strength when she was around other people, when she was doing something that made her light up inside. She was dancing. She was talking to women who served as her mentor. She was getting data into her life about herself, about what she wanted and needed. Keep your passions, because when you have those passions, you're filled up inside. You don't need a getaway car. I don't want a guy like taking me away from my life. No, I like my life. I'm good here. I don't need to be distracted from anything. I want to be present in my life. I want to see it all, experience it all. And the things I don't like, well, I don't just want to be blunted against. I don't want to be anesthetized to the things I don't like. I want to fix them. Right? And that is a habit to get into. It doesn't come naturally. It's something we have to practice and cultivate. So if we can learn nothing else from Elvis and Priscilla, it's that if a guy is trying to like shame you, it's like, well, I just can't think of you, the same way. I've had guys say that to me. Like, and it's when I've told them how many people I've slept with. I'm a grown woman. Sex is like anything else. You got to practice to be good at. Sex is fun. Sometimes it was 2 at a time. Girls, not boys. But like, they're like, oh, I can't see you. And I'm like, you know what? I can't see your beta ass the same way. The fact that you would, and this is the line I use, and it's from A Few Good Men. Jack Nicholson's on the stand and he's like spitting vitriol. He's like a military man. He's like, you sleep under the blanket of freedom I provide, and then you question the manner in which I provide it. And I've said this in some form or another to so many boys. You enjoy the blanket of whatever. You enjoy the sex I provide, and then you question the manner in which I became proficient at it. You enjoy the clout from my career, and then you turn around and shame me for spending so much time working on it? What? I am not the one. But I'm not afraid to say that to boys because I'm not afraid to be alone. I don't feel lonely when I'm alone. I like to be alone because I like to be present. I like to be in my real estate, my physical real estate, it's got a fridge, and my emotional real estate. I'm not afraid to be inside of myself. Of course, I like other people, but I'm not like miserable when I'm alone. I feel very happy when I'm alone. And I would rather be alone and at peace than together with someone who erodes me, who views me as a faulty refrigerator. Slightest little spark or short, she's out the door. No, baby boy, you are. So, I hope you've enjoyed this Retro Bae lesson. They are a fascinating couple. So toxic and so bizarre. Tell me if you've had an encounter with an older man or any man who's expected perfection from you and what he did when you let him down. And it's just so rich that men would expect us to be perfect, either physically or whatever, when literally men are so hairy. Let's just start there. Little hairs absolutely everywhere. Oh, my bikini wax is 4 days overdue. You are covered in hair from top to fucking bottom. Anyway, click like and subscribe. We'll see you next time, Shalligators.